Hello everyone, welcome to your first 60-second stats video. My name is Jillian Stugard, and in this video series, we will cover specific statistics concepts or definitions in 5 minutes or less. Each 60 seconds stats video is accompanied by a corresponding Kahoot game that you can use to practice and apply the skills covered in the video in a really fun way. The links for each Kahoot can be found in the description for the video on YouTube. In our first video for Chapter 1, we will be talking about populations versus samples versus individuals in a statistics study. So let's get started. So in section 1.1, we are introduced to the practice of statistics and the process of statistics. One really important concept that we need to understand is the difference between a population and a sample. So if we're talking about an entire group of individuals, that group of individuals to be studied is called the population. When we take a subset of that population, that's our sample. So our population is the big group from which we pull our sample. And we can go even further to say an individual is a person or object that is a member of the population being studied. So in order, we start with our big population. From that population, we pull a smaller subset, a sample, and typically we would want that to be a randomized sample, which we'll talk about later. And from that sample, we have individuals. Some visual definitions to help you, right? If we think of this as our population, right, we have smiley faces, blue smiley faces with red squares behind them, yellow smiley faces. We could pull a sample from this, which would have a little bit of each of these, okay? And again, if we think of the state of Massachusetts as our population, well, we can pull different samples from that population. So it would be residents of the state of Massachusetts, different groups, and they can be different sizes. And there will be some variability here. But sometimes it just helps to look and see, okay, this big thing from which I'm pulling my sample is my population, and my sample has to come from my population. It's a subset of it. So we need to be really specific in how we define our population, because that's where our sample will be pulled from. Some examples of populations and samples. If my population is United States citizens, a sample could be U.S. women aged 18 to 39, right? That's a smaller subset of U.S. citizens. If my population is residents of the American Northeast, right? So New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts. Then my sample could be 120 people from the American Northeast who smoke. Maybe I'm doing some sort of statistical study about the impact of smoking. Connecticut residents, if that was my population, a subset could be residents of New Haven County, right? These are residents who are pulled from the state of Connecticut, but specifically live in New Haven County. If my population is full-time students enrolled at post-university, a possible sample could be 79 full-time students enrolled at post-university. So maybe I just pull a random sample of students from post. If my population is students enrolled in a post-university math class, a possible sample could be post-university students enrolled in Statistics 1, because Statistics 1 is a subset of math classes here at Post. What if my population was students in this class? What could a possible sample be? So take a minute and think about that. So here's a Kahoot to check your knowledge. It's a really fun way to just make sure you're understanding what's going on. Follow these directions. You can take the quiz as many times as you'd like. Reach out with questions and have fun.